My name is Pam Talley Stoneburner. I'm an artist. I live in Virginia, and I have always loved animals and artwork, and I'm basically a self-taught artist. I majored in animal science at Virginia Tech and didn't think I could do anything with my artwork, but I did artwork as a side job all along while I was in college, and decided to give it a try, and started out with $5 to my name and hit the road and started going to horse shows and setting up a display of my artwork and doing portraits for people. And I had a lot of fun. I would travel to their homes and stay with them while I was doing the artwork for them. And I met a lot of very interesting people and got to experience a lot of different places along the East Coast. And then as I got more experience doing the portraits, I started going to some of the larger horse shows in the country, in America, and even into the Canadian Arabian Nationals. And most of the portraits that I did were Arabian horses, because I love Arabian horses and I ride Arabian horses, and I just think they're so beautiful. So a lot of the shows that I went to were Arabian horse shows. But I also did dog portraits, and I did bulls and goats and sheep and boats. I even did boats, catamaran and things like that. So I would do whatever someone wanted to have a portrait of. And most of the work that I do is in pastels, but I also do sculptures and pen and ink drawings, and I've illustrated a couple of books, and have really enjoyed being able to work at my own pace and be able to do what I want to do on my own time frame.
How did you realize that you had this gift?
It's kind of a funny story. When I was in high school, I went to the Arabian Nationals in New Mexico with a friend of ours who had a tack shop where they would sell horse equipment and things like that. And we drove from Virginia to New Mexico, and I had taken 2 weeks off from school to go to that horse show. And we were on a horse judging team for the Virginia Arabian Horse Association. And there was a horse judging youth contest there. And so we did the contest, but then I had a lot of time the rest of the horse show where I was just sitting in the stands and I was drawing and doing things. And someone actually bought a picture that I was sketching while I was there at the horse show. And so that kind of gave me the inspiration to try and sell some of my artwork over the years. So that kind of got me going.
Your love for the animals goes way back.
Yes. I was interested in trying to go to vet school, but organic chemistry was not very good for me. And my brain just kind of doesn't work that way. And you have to have really, really good grades to be able to get into vet school. And I had good grades, but not good enough. And actually, I have a daughter who is a veterinarian, and she is done very well. I have 3 children. I'm married, and so my kids are all great. The pastels are chalks that are about the size of my finger, and I like to work with the soft pastels on a velour paper, which is kind of a smooth finished paper, and it really lends itself well to doing the coats of horses in particular, and the smooth hair of animals. I like to use those because they're easy. You can set them down. You don't have to wait for them to dry. The velour board that I get now is acid free and is already attached to a backing, so it makes it nicer than when I was first starting out, when you had the paper and had to attach it to a board so that it wouldn't ripple when you were having it framed. And I work from photographs and videos. It's helpful to have videos if I can. And then now that we have computers, I can make it come onto my computer, and I can freeze the frame on a video so that I can get exactly the angle that I want. A lot of times I'm doing portraits of animals that have passed away, so I have a very limited supply of pictures, and sometimes the pictures that I have to work from are not very good. So I just have to pray, and actually that's one of the things that I do, is I pray before I start a portrait and ask the Lord to show me and help me capture the essence of that animal when I do their portrait. Psalm 20 verse 7 is one of my favorites, and it says, this is out of the New American Standard Version, and it says, some boast in chariots and some in horses, but we will boast in the name of the Lord our God. And then before I start the portrait, Psalm 144 says, blessed be the Lord my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. And I kind of thought that was like the war of getting the portrait done and have the picture capture the personality of that animal. And then another scripture that I like is out of Philippians. Philippians 4:13, it says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so that also helps me to be able to get the essence of the animal in the portrait. And I thank God that he's given me this gift to be able to do that. And one of the things that I like is when someone tells me that they've had a portrait that I did 10 years ago or something, and they still are getting enjoyment out of that portrait. That makes me happy. Pen and ink, I did a lot of drawings that were done on t-shirts and designs for different things, and the book that I illustrated was done in pen and ink. And right now I'm working on a calendar that is, my farrier wanted me to do it, that has the parts of the hoof and the parts of the horse. This is just a mock-up of the calendar. It's actually at the printers right now, but it has all of the parts of the horse. And then further down, I did like the leg muscles and tendons and have those all labeled. And the farriers and a vet that I know will give those to their clients. And here's the muscles of the horse. So this is coming out soon. These are the deeper muscles of the horse. When it's printed, I will have some for sale. They can contact me on my email or go on my website, www.pamtallystoneburner.com, and I'll be able to have them there. I'm going to be volunteering at an endurance ride coming up in a few weeks, and I'll have a display there. So we'll just kind of see how I can market them there. And then also the different farriers and vets are going to have the calendar printed with their information, their contact information on the calendar, so that they can give them out to their clients. Mostly the horses for pleasure. People have horses as their pets that they enjoy riding, pleasure riding, or things like that. I also have volunteered at a therapeutic horsemanship organization, and I did this portrait in pastel of one of their main horses that they used with children who had autism or special needs children or people with mental disabilities, and we would use the horses to help give therapy to these people who needed either help with their emotions or help with their physical needs, where some of the children who came were blind, or ones that were in wheelchairs, and one that didn't have any core strength in his muscles, and being around the horses helped develop his core strength, and also learning how to follow directions. And actually, this particular child was encouraged to speak because he was around the horses. So horses are used for pleasure, for therapy, and just companionship. I really like the soft pastels because I can get really realistic. I have this that I used to take to horse shows, and I know there's kind of a glare on it, but you can see that you can get the shines on the horses and the fur texture of the dogs. So I like it that it's not as, with oil paints, you have to work at things a little differently and wait for things to dry before you can go on, and the pastels are pretty easy to use. It seems like now everybody has a cell phone with a camera, and so it's not as good as it used to be as far as trying to have it as an income. It seems like there's a lot more, and I don't want to have to spend all the hours doing the editing and things like that. So now when I do the photography for someone, I will let them take the SD card. I'll charge a fee, but they'll take the SD card, and then they can make all of the reprints and things that they want to do with it. I don't have time to put into doing all the edits and the making the reprints and all the things that a lot of the photographers do. Here is one of the sculptures that I did for a company called Red Mill Manufacturing. And these are made of polyester resins that are poured into a mold that is made from the clay sculpture that I did. And they are heavy and kind of feel like they're a wood carving, but they're really not. And after I would do the original sculpture, they would take a little tool and make it look like it was carved. I did about 40 different sculptures for Red Mill, and then the owner of the company was tragically killed in a plane crash. And then I have 3 children, and when they were little, I used them as models for these little sculptures that were done for the little girl playing dress up. And then here's the little boy playing dress up. These are also Red Mill sculptures. So he's got his daddy's shoes on and his daddy's hat and coat. So those were kind of fun. And then here is a goat that I did, and you can see all the little hair marks to make it look like it had the goat hair. And that took me a long time to get it just right. And we were taking it to Red Mill for them. And the clay that I use it doesn't harden, so it's easy to mess it up. And my husband set his briefcase beside it. When we got to Red Mill to give him the finished sculpture, his briefcase had fallen over on the goat and it was all messed up. And so I had to redo it. But I didn't cuss at him, so it was just kind of a funny story. And then I've done, here's another little foal that I did for Red Mill too. This is clay that my kids put on there to make it look like the horse had a little marking. But they're not made anymore. And Red Mill actually sold their company to a company in China, and they were made in China for a little while, but it didn't work out very well. But those Red Mill sculptures were sold all over the country. I had a friend who used to travel around a lot, and she said that she would see them in the different airport gift shops. These are the Breyer models that I did, and they are made of plastic. So they're hollow inside. Their mold is a different type of mold than the ones used for Red Mill. And this horse is Kemosabe, and I saw Kemosabe in real life at the Arabian Nationals. And then on part of our honeymoon, my husband and I went to California and went to some Arabian horse farms, and we went to see Kemosabe. And that was before I knew that they were going to commission me to do a portrait, a sculpture of him. And this was the first Breyer model that I did. It's called Rugged Lark. I don't know if it's showing up very well on here, but it was fun doing these different sculptures for Red Mill and for Breyer. The ones for Breyer were done with the air drying clay that did harden. And part of the problem we had with Rugged Lark was that he developed some cracks as he dried, and I had to fix those. So Breyer flew my husband and me up to New Jersey, where they had their manufacturing plant, and I delivered the sculpture to them that way, and then fixed those little cracks while I was up there. I was pregnant with my first child during that time, back in 1988. You can find them on eBay. A lot of times Red Mill will take these and change the coloring of the horse and bring it back in a different model in a different year. This Kemosabe was their 2003 special Christmas horse, and it was all decorated and it was in a different color. And Rugged Lark was brought back in a different color as well. So they are available. You can find them on eBay, or I don't think they're made anymore by. I don't think Kemosabe is made anymore by Breyer. And then the Red Mill ones you can also find on like eBay. The dogs I do, I think I showed you this. Let's see if I can make it go to one of the dogs. There's a dog, and then there are more on my website that have the dogs too. There's some puppies. So, and I also have prints for sale that I used to sell when I would go to horse shows. This is one of the prints. It's called May's Beauty. There's a little bit of a glare on it. But this mare was a real mare named Maida, and I thought the springtime setting, showing the beauty of spring, and then May had her foal, so her foal was beautiful, and then she was beautiful. So I thought that was a good title for that. It's a limited edition print. I still have some left. And then also I have prints of this one, of Sweethearts. And they're all available on my website. You can see them. I also did some greeting cards for Marion Heath Greeting Company. They got me to do these Christmas cards for them. I don't know if they're still a company that would make these anymore, but you know, a Christmas card that they had done. And then I'm going to go get the book that I illustrated. Hold on just a second. I should have brought it over here. This book, The Magnet, was written by my good friend, Mary Ashby McDonald. We were in college together at Virginia Tech, and she ended up going to vet school when she was 40 years old and had 2 kids and was married. So she has quite an interesting story. And she was a large animal veterinarian. And, you know, at first, women veterinarians weren't very well received by a lot of the farmers. So she has a lot of very interesting stories of her experience as a large animal veterinarian. And then she also had a very difficult childhood with alcoholic parents. And so she tells a lot about how God got her through those times, those difficult times in her childhood, and redeemed everything. So it's really an interesting book, and I did the illustrations in it. She had a story about having to work on a prolapsed cow. Her uterus had prolapsed out, and people who might not be familiar with that wouldn't know the magnitude of what it was for her to put that uterus back in that cow. And so I did that illustration and you know, other illustrations that went along with her stories. It's on Amazon, and I also have it on my website. And I wanted to be able to do my artwork so that I could work on my own time. When the kids were taking naps, I used to do designs for flags, and like the house flags that people, decorative flags that they put up. And a friend of mine had her business. She would sew the flags, but she would come over to my house around 7 o'clock in the morning, and I would do the pencil sketches for the flag designs before my kids woke up. And, you know, I could do work while they were taking a nap. And so I was able to work my schedule around being a mom full time. I actually have done a couple of murals for some friends, and one was like clouds and a couple of unicorns running across with the rainbow in the little girl's bedroom. And then another one I did on a friend's living room wall, and it was of her stallion and her favorite mare and a foal with the background in it. And it was fun. It was painted with acrylic paint. And it was a challenge, but it was good fun. And they were indoor ones. You'd have to do different kind of paint to be outside. Actually, I have a book that I want to do. My kids, we used to bale hay, and we still do bale hay for our horses. And one year we were baling hay, and a bird's nest fell down, and my daughter caught this little bird that survived the fall, and that bird was a barn swallow, and her name was Angie. And they took care of Angie for about 3 weeks or more, where they would catch bugs and kill and, you know, squish them up and give them to Angie. And Angie went with us everywhere. She went to the grocery store, to the library, to the Bible study, to church. They had a little bucket that they'd made a little nest for her in. And then they took her back to the farm each day and let her have time to learn how to fly. And she actually ended up flying. And my daughter, I have a picture of it. My daughter's sitting on her horse, holding her finger up and whistling. And Angie comes and lands on her finger while she is sitting on her horse. And so I'd like to do a children's book with that story and have it to have information about barn swallows and how their migration pattern is, and just the amazing story of dedication of catching bugs for hours on end trying to feed this little baby. right now I'm just getting the calendar finished, and that's at the printer right now. In fact, I was hoping to get a proof of it today. So I'm hoping to have that to have for my display at the American Endurance Ride Conference is having their National Championship Endurance Ride in conjunction with the Old Dominion Endurance Ride that is in Virginia this year, and it's going to be in 2 weeks. And I'm going to have a display of my artwork there because I'm donating a portrait of the best condition finisher of the 55-mile endurance ride and the 100-mile endurance ride for the national championship. So I'll have my display of my artwork there. So I've got to get things put together because I haven't had a display in a while. I thank God that He has given me this ability to do artwork, to capture the personality of the animals that I do their portraits of in chalk, in pastels, or in pen and ink, or in the sculptures, even though it's been a long time since I've done a sculpture, but I'm thankful for that. And I encourage people to take time to just love their animals and be peaceful and seek God. I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and that brings me a lot of peace knowing that, and studying the Bible, and knowing the promises that there are in the Bible. I was not raised in a Christian home, and my husband's family was strong Christians, and his mom and dad came and shared Romans 9 and 10 that says, 9 and 10 says that if you confess with your mouth Jesus as Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you shall be saved. For with the heart man believes, resulting in righteousness, and with the mouth he confesses, resulting in salvation. And that was a very important verse for me because, you know, my husband and I were, before we were married, we weren't living in a way that pleased Rob's parents, and they could have been very unforgiving toward us about that, but they did not hold that against us, and they loved us and came and shared this scripture with me, and I received Jesus that day. So I'm very thankful for that. If people are interested in knowing more about my artwork, they can go to my website of www.pamtalleystoneburner.com, and I have prints available for sale. I don't have very many of the Red Mill sculptures for sale because they're not made anymore, so I only have a few left, so I'm getting stingy about selling those because I want to have some for my kids and grandkids to have. If they have questions about the Lord, they can call me, and I'd be happy to share what my testimony is.